Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for your patience and welcome to the University of Manchester session. This is part of Future Fortnight, and this is the Tech Careers for Tech Graduates. So essentially what we're covering today is careers related to the tech sector. And we've also got some amazing employers that have joined us today who are going to share their kind of insights, a little bit about the companies they work for and opportunities. So we'll do some introductions shortly. To begin with, my name is Penny. I'm one of the career consultants in the main Central Careers team. I'm joined by my colleague Sarah White. Sarah will be behind the scenes, kind of looking after the chat function. If you would like to communicate with us, please use that chat function. If you have questions for the employers as we go along, please also pop that in there. Hopefully you should all be muted, but yeah, if you can communicate via chat, that's probably the most effective way. Just to make you aware as well, this session is being recorded today, so it will become available on YouTube in the coming days. This will give you a chance to go back and review any of the conversations. But also for students who weren't able to attend today, that resource will be there on YouTube. So I've got some slides to share, so I'm just going to screen share and get started. We would ask you to register for this event. You're not automatically registered as attended, so if you would be kind enough to do that for us, I'm just going to share that now. Okay, so this is the QR code, or there's the bit.ly link there, and perhaps Sarah would be kind enough just to pop that in the chat for me. So the purpose of kind of registering really is for us to kind of monitor attendance, but also so that you receive copies of any slides that we share today. So please do register for this event. Thank you. I'll share that again towards the end in case we do have any latecomers. Okay, so what are we covering? I'm going to just do a brief overview of the kind of sector, the tech sector. I'm then going to bring in our guest employers. So we've got Sarah Brooke-Pierce from Auto Trader. We've got Dan Bennett-Baum from Cube Research Technologies, or QRT. And then we've also got Christina and Hannah from IBM. So you will have opportunities to ask them questions about their companies, about opportunities, even about kind of application process, and they'll be sharing some advice and tips with you later. Okay. So a little bit about the tech sector. It's been one of those sectors actually that has done really well during the pandemic. It's probably been one of the least affected. So it continues to grow. So we've got approximately 3 million people in the UK who are employed in what we call the tech sector. That's an 11% increase in the past 2 years, and it continues to grow. There is currently a national skills shortage in the UK. So having a STEM degree puts you in a really strong position. And if you're also thinking about a career in tech, there are lots of opportunities out there for you as STEM students. So what kind of is this? What is the sector? What's it made up of? It's a very fast-moving, very dynamic sector. We have large organisations, which I'll come to in a moment. I'll share some of those graduate employers. But also there's a lot of SMEs, and SME stands for small and medium-sized enterprises. As well as SMEs, we've also got tech startups. Now, these tend to be quite small businesses, maybe one or two people have kind of set up a small business, and typically as well employ sort of people like graduates to help them grow and develop their businesses. So when you are thinking about the job market, don't automatically just think of those bigger companies, although they are very attractive to graduates, but also think about small and medium-sized companies and even those smaller startups. In terms of the sector itself, it falls into three main categories. We've got tech companies, so they deal specifically with programming, consultancy, networking, the kind of techie roles that we would expect to see when we look for jobs. We've also got tech innovators, so these are companies that really invest in kind of research, development, and I've named a couple of those companies there. And then tech actually goes right across most industries, actually. So universities have large digital tech teams. We certainly have one at the University of Manchester. Organisations like the NHS have massive digital teams. So there are technical teams and personnel within organisations that aren't regarded as tech companies, if you like. So when you're looking for opportunities, I guess just expand your search, have an open mind, because it may not be a tech company that you work for. It may be a tech department within a company. Okay, so I mentioned some of the employers. This is where some of our graduates actually go on to work. So some of them are actually Manchester based as well. So again, if you're thinking about, well, do I want to work for a big corporate? And predominantly a lot of these are here. I've kind of gone for big names because I think they're quite popular with students and that you'll recognise them. But as I said before, don't discount small and medium-sized enterprises. You can have really great experiences with those sorts of employers. So what to expect? What's it like working in tech? So a typical sort of starting salary is predicted between 30 and 32,000, although that can be slightly higher or slightly lower, depending on your skill, your experience. You're typically completing tasks or projects, and I'm sure our employers will share a little bit more about the kind of roles and responsibilities that they have and that their colleagues have. It's a constantly changing industry. There's new technology being developed all the time. So if you like change, if you like training, this is a great sector for you. As I mentioned before, we've got really large corporates, SMEs, right down to kind of tech startups. So you've got a real breadth of employer to choose from. And of course, some people choose to become self-employed or do kind of contracts work. So they may kind of jump from role to role or company to company, picking up contracts or doing freelance work. So you have got that option as well. If you don't want to be tied to a particular company, you've potentially got that freedom as well to move around. So how to boost your experience as a STEM student. Now, some of you may be computer science students already and learning really relevant and valid skills. And hopefully some of you will be looking at kind of online courses if you haven't already done so. But here's some kind of tips about what you may want to think about. So most IT roles, employers will be looking for both a mixture of technical and transferable skills. And I ran a tech session earlier this morning for non-STEM students, and that definitely came across from the employers that they're looking for a mixture of, you know, communication skills, team working, problem solving, those softer skills, as well as that technical stuff. Looking at your transferable skills and identifying any gaps that you've got. So, you know, if you feel like your communication skills aren't that great, maybe looking for opportunities in volunteering or joining societies or actually getting some work experience, just develop those skills. Think about the area of IT and tech because it's huge, and start to do some research, start speaking to people, connect with people on LinkedIn who are in that field and ask them for their advice, ask them to share that experience with you. And in fact, today you can ask our employers, you know, questions about their career or decisions they've made about qualifications that they've undertaken. So build on existing expertise. So you may have done some, say, Python or something, or some sort of coding as part of your course, but you can take that a step further and look at getting further qualifications. And then really importantly, start to build evidence so you can build a portfolio, showing your experience, things that you've done, whether that be in your course or in your free time. So getting that evidence together to share that with an employer is really important. One thing I would suggest you do today, if you haven't already done it, and I've actually done this myself, actually I just did it a couple of weeks ago, is access our discovery tool. So Sarah White, if you would kindly just pop the link in the chat for me. So this essentially is an audit. It's a digital skills audit. And you go through a series of questions and then it provides you an individual report identifying strengths and areas for development. And what I really liked about it was for your areas of development, it gave you tasks to go away and complete so that if you wanted to kind of maybe work a little bit more with Excel, for example, and just kind of fine tune your knowledge, you could go away and do a task around Excel. So there's lots of activity that you can do, you don't have to, but that can build your experience in areas where where the report has identified that you need to build that skill. So I really would encourage you, it only took about maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to go through that activity. And what it will also do actually is help you when you are writing your CV or you're in front of an employer and they're asking you about what your strengths are or your technical skills. This could be a really useful report because it tells you, it gives you that feedback straight away. So you can rely on that when you're using that as evidence. There's lots of other things to do to find out about opportunities, to think about expanding your skill set, to kind of undertaking online courses. So we've got a list of links here for you to go away and have a look at, and the slides will be shared after today's presentation. So as long as you've registered, you'll have access to those slides. So what I wanted to do is just really quickly just jump back to that registration slide. Sorry, that was a bit messy, but just to ask you to register if you haven't managed to do that at the beginning of me starting to talk. If you could just do that now to make sure that you get the slides, and if any of our employers are sharing slides, we'll make sure they get to you as well. Now, talking of employers, let's bring them in and hear from them. So we've got Dan from QRT, we've got Christina and Hannah from IBM, and we've got Sarah from Also Trader. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving up your time. We'd really like to hear from you and about your companies and your kind of view of the kind of tech industry. So if I start off with Christina and Hannah, I think you might have a presentation prepared actually.
Yeah, I'll share my screen in a second.
Thank you.
So I guess everyone can see that?
That looks great.
Yeah. So my name is Christina. I'm an associate consultant in data services at IBM. I actually graduated from the University of Manchester in July last year, and I joined IBM as a consultant, and I'm joined by Hannah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Christina. So yeah, hi everyone, I'm Hannah. I'm a software engineer based in the Manchester lab at IBM. I graduated from the University of Manchester 4 years ago after studying computer science, and I work in storage virtualization at the moment. So yeah, we can start by saying who are IBM. So we are a global technology company. We've been around for 111 years, this year. So we've got quite a long history of innovation. A few things you've probably heard about that we've invented. We invented the barcode, we invented the floppy disk, and also the ATM machine. So that's a bit of our history that you've probably heard about. Our work today is a bit more modern. We work on many things all across the world, things including artificial intelligence using one of our products called IBM Watson. And we're doing a lot of work at the moment around the hybrid cloud infrastructure. So there's a lot of exciting things going on, which is why I really like working for IBM. So we've got offices based all around the world. But in the UK specifically, the majority of the roles, majority of the technical roles as well, are based in the Hursley offices, which is near to Southampton. If you've not heard of it, not many people have heard of the area. But we do also have some other roles in our offices in the UK, such as London and Manchester, where I am. Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So on this slide, yeah, you can see the roles that we offer. We've got various graduate roles in technology and also consulting and design. So when you join us, you'll become a full-time employee. You'll work on real projects with real clients, and you'll be supported as well while you gain this experience in the role. We also offer some placement roles, which will take place between your second and third year of university. and also a summer internship called Extreme Blue. So all of our roles are currently closed for this year, but they'll open up again in the autumn for our 2023 intake. And all these roles you can apply to regardless of your degree background. And I'll pass you over to Christina now, who will go through the application process, how to make your application stand out, and this is whether you're applying from a technical or non-technical background.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. And also on a final note, we've added a link here to our careers website. And although, as Hannah mentioned, our roles are currently closed, we encourage you to click and register your interest, and you'll get an email notification once we open them up again. Also, Hannah and I sometimes share when those roles open, so feel free to follow us on LinkedIn and stay on top of that. So how to become an IBMer. So this band in blue basically goes through our standard application process, which begins with a CV application where you answer a few questions, then online assessments, then that's reviewed by your manager, and then we would invite you to an assessment center, which I believe are now in person, not just virtual. And once you pass that stage, this will lead into matching interviews. And I think this is the bit where it differs a bit more from other companies. Once you pass the assessment center, you are already a graduate on IBM, but the matching interview is the process where we ensure that you are allocated to the right department. So they always involve like at least one interview with a manager, and they tell you about the open roles in their department, and it's a two-way conversation. So you can see whether it's the right fit for you, and they can tell you whether it's the right fit for you too. And here at the left in the bottom, we have our 8 competencies, and these are specific skills and traits that we try to look for in our applicants. So for example, for us is obviously, especially in our consulting department, it's really important to maintain a client focus, obviously a passion for IBM, and I guess in more technical development roles, problem solving and teamwork. And just a few final notes, we do look for applications that are on track for a 2-1 or above. As Hannah mentioned, we look for any degree background, so you don't have to have a technology degree to apply for technology roles, and you don't have to have a business degree to apply for business design roles. We do look for right to work in the UK, although it is true that there's some exceptions to that rule. So still feel free to send in your application. And yeah, we would graduates join as permanent employees, and salaries start at around 32K, although it depends on where you're based ultimately. Yeah, just as a final tip, Hannah and I believe that the way where you make your application pop is by showing not only a passion for technology, but a passion for the work we do at IBM. So obviously a bit of research is always needed before the interview, and we also encourage all of you to share any personal projects that you're involved in that you think could reflect those competencies that I described in this slide. But yeah, thank you all for having us, and feel free to ask us any questions. I'll stop sharing now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christina and Harold. That was really insightful and really helpful actually to have an overview of the recruitment process, because I think sometimes students get a bit unsure about, you know, what happens next. So thank you for sharing that. Dan, can I bring you in now, please?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Right, so I'll tell you a little bit about financial services and what particularly my company, Cube Research and Technologies, does. So the thing about financial services is it tends to have sort of a reputation of being large companies with lots of people and kind of lots of small jobs. The truth of the matter is that there's a lot of smaller size companies, you know, sort of in the 200 to 400 size of employees. And over the years, the thing I found that's the most intriguing about it is that it's very well funded and you tend to have a lot of reach. So the type of work that you'd be doing for financial, it's very rewarding. It can be quite broad-based and very dynamic. So you may go in with a certain set of skills and a certain sort of plan, and you may find yourself growing in directions you weren't really anticipating. I mean, the best way I would describe it is just that it's a lot of the same computer science and sort of data science problems and hard science problems, but it tends to be done in a very directed way and with quite a lot of impact for each individual employee. I'll share a little bit from our website to just sort of show what we're about. So this is our public website, so you'll be able to obviously load onto this quite easily yourselves, but just to give you some background of the technologies we work with. Okay, so we're based in London near Victoria Station, and we classify ourselves as a quantitative and systematic investment manager. What that means basically is that we use computer programs, strategies, algorithms, and things like that on the stock market as ways of making trades on behalf of our investors. And even though that sounds somewhat dry, if I describe it that way, it's absolutely a fascinating subject. It sort of touches on all of the big problems in computer science, data science, and things like that. And strangely enough, I would say that from the point of view of sort of interacting with other people, the social side of the company is probably one of the most important parts. So the way that we collaborate together and the way that people work and sort of solve problems is all about sort of amplifying the skill sets of your colleagues and things like that. Big data is a big part of our work, right? So there's constant flows of information from stock markets and exchanges coming in. And we have a continuous problem of basically how quickly we can load and process information that's coming from the stock markets. When we talk about research, what that tends to mean in the context of this company is basically that we're trying to create strategies and we're trying to create new ways of understanding the chaos that we see out in the markets. So we're constantly doing analytics and taking models from areas you might not expect. We have quite a few physicists. Astrophysicists are actually also highly sought after in this field. Part of the problem of sort of taking noise and signal from things like radio telescopes. It's a very similar problem space to finding out information from a market that's actually interesting versus just kind of incidental. We also just mentioned as a general thing, technology, right? So we tend to use computers all over the place. So a bit of coding definitely goes a long way at QRT. That's my particular role as well. So I have a title of Director of Quantitative Technology. And one thing that some students have been surprised to learn is that we do overclocked PCs basically for trading. So very similar to when somebody might build a gaming PC, we take that same methodology and build that into sort of squeezing the most performance we can out of a machine for trading purposes. Funny enough, it's the exact same hardware and almost the same tools you would use, just minus the video card. So I've hired interns before who have been sort of on the pro gaming circuit and things like that. And basically being able to know your way around a PC and how the parts come together and work is just as exciting to us as understanding how to program and code algorithms and find sort of gold coins inside all of the noise that we always constantly hear from the markets. There's a little bullet point here about trading as well. So it just, it lets you know that effectively the avenue that we practice our technology is in the global financial markets. So kind of what it's like in the office is an interesting thing. So we're still quite small. In London, we're at around the 200 person mark. And that should tell you a fair amount about the company, right? So you'll see desks like in the picture of this website where someone's got 6 screens basically, and they're kind of bombarded with information. And we all sit kind of together in a big space with the desks in rows. And what this does is you sort of hear what's going on near you, and it's very social in that sense, so that discoveries and I don't know, the kind of coding projects and things that we work on can be very social. And on the flip side with lockdown, we also kind of learned that there's a lot of value in working remotely like I am today. And so we have a nice mixture of kind of, quiet thinking time, which is often beneficial if you're a bit more on the introverted side. And then also the social interaction where we, we kind of all get together and get excited and talk about stuff. So an interesting thing too, like I sort of touched on this, like we're looking for people that have a somewhat unusual portfolio. We're not necessarily looking for direct degree mappings to things. we're much more interested in people who are good at solving problems, who've shown sort of a history of doing a project on their own that requires a lot of sticking with the task, I guess, being, really good at sort of being stubborn in a way, I guess, in the positive sense. We like to talk to musicians. We like to talk to skeptics, people who do volunteer work, anybody who's got sort of an interesting hobby that involves technology in some way. So we do some work with the Raspberry Pi Foundation as one of our charities. And, an interesting thing that's sort of come of that is that as soon as anybody mentions one of those, I already know that they're pretty good at installing software and hardware without really a lot of manuals aside from what's online. And you'll be able to see that we hire direct graduates as well. So we've got some placements listed on our careers page. So the same thing that others were saying, if people want to directly apply that way, that's wonderful. We love that. We also have competitions as well online. So if you look at our careers page, you'll see that there's a mathematics competition for our quantitative researchers. And these are great ways to stand out because the researchers sort of craft problems in a way so that if someone is able to solve it, we already know that they'd be great at the job. So we've hired directly from that. This year, we're bringing in 2 students from Manchester on a 1-year placement, and they're actually starting Monday. So I'm really looking forward to starting with these guys. And hopefully that gives you a good background, and looking forward to the questions.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Dan. Really appreciate that. And I thought it was really interesting, the kind of different backgrounds you were talking about there, that not necessarily computer science graduates, but a real mixture, including astrophysics. That's really amazing. Thank you so much.
Sciences are wonderful.
Great. If you've got any questions for Christina, Hannah from IBM, or Dan, please pop those in the chat and we'll pick them up after we've heard from Sarah from Auto Trader. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I have brought a couple of slides along to keep me on track, and I am being really, really brave because there is a video. So let's see how that goes. And if it goes to pot, I'll just talk over it, but we'll give it a little try. Okay, let's see how this works. And here we go. Okay, so so I'm Sarah from Auto Trader, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about Auto Trader and our grad life. So my pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the future talent manager at Auto Trader, which basically means I look after all our entry programs across the business, from anything from graduates, apprentices, retrainers, returners, work experience, interns, the whole shebang, which is, to be honest, the best thing to do in all the HR teams. I'm also our disability and neurodiversity network lead. You may spot some errors in these slides. I have put them together, and I am dyslexic and have ADHD as well. So it's a particular passion for mine, but you may notice a few typos, so I apologise now. So thought I'd tell you a little bit about Auto Trader, and then I'm going to show you one of our quick videos so you can hear from other people in the business. But as a nutshell for Auto Trader, we are one of the biggest websites in the UK, and we're the leading website for automotive, we're the biggest automotive marketplace. We've been around since 1977, so we've got a lot of history behind us, and our head office and technology centre is in Manchester. And over that time, we've been on quite a journey, going from a magazine, but leading the way then for the first classified magazine, right the way through now to being a fully online digital business and really pushing some boundaries around things. Our website, we even had a website before Google had a website, so don't know what that tells you. Some of the key facts I just wanted to share. So as you can see, we get millions of cross-platform visits a month. We have typically around 450,000 cars listed on the website every day. We don't actually own a single one of them. We're just a trading platform, but we also have trucks, plants, bikes, vans, you name it, it's on there. It's got wheels and an engine. But some of the key things I thought was really useful to share was we're a FTSE 100 company, but we only have around 1,000 employees. So we're not a big organisation, but we do have a big impact in everything that we do. And something I just snuck in there because I was quite proud of myself is 100% of everyone on our early careers programmes are proud to work for Autotrader. And 98% would recommend Autotrader as a great place to work. So I've sneakily just, snuck those in while I had the chance. But to give you a little bit more insight, I'm going to just quickly share one of our videos, if it works. Fingers crossed moment.
So you want to know more about life at Autotrader? Let's find out. With millions of visits per month across desktop, tablet and mobile, if you're selling a vehicle in the UK, chances are it'll be on Autotrader. To make a digital business like ours work, you need many dedicated people working behind the scenes to make it happen. We design and develop our website and apps, manage our accounts, and make sense of all the data. Our headquarters are in Manchester, and we have an office in London. We employ more than 1,000 people, and we offer many early career opportunities, including apprenticeship programs for levels 3 to 7, graduate schemes, and internships. Not to mention, we're proud to be named the first autism-friendly employer by the National Autistic Society. We're an inclusive top 50 company and a disability confident leader. You can find out more about our early careers community by visiting our career site. So what are you waiting for?
I thought Dania did such a better job on that than I could. So hopefully, and also you got a little bit of a sneaky look around our Manchester office, which is always nice. It was filmed last year, so there wasn't quite as many people in the office as what there is now, so you didn't get to see as many faces. But as Dania mentioned, we do have lots of different entry routes across different things, but just focusing on our graduate programmes. So the thing we ask for around our graduate programmes is that you've graduated in the last 5 years. We know life gets in the way sometimes, and there might be a reason why you want to apply for a graduate position a while after you've graduated, so we want to make sure it's inclusive around that. And the key things around this is we don't set subjects. We know that STEM qualifications bring through all those great things that we look for around logic, problem solving, curiosity, but we also know there's a lot of pressure when you leave college to make a decision on which degree to do, and some people figure things out as they're going through that process. So there's no restriction. We don't require a set discipline. We don't require people to have gone to a set university, and don't tell anyone, but we don't also check the grades. We don't put a limit on anything. So the key thing is for this, we just love people who are passionate about technology, passionate about data, and improving things for our customers. I'll take on to the next bit. So graduate roles, I just wanted to share a few examples of the type of roles that we look for. These are across Manchester and London. In particular, as you can see, they span across a few different areas. And as a few people have mentioned, you don't just need to go into tech if you've got a STEM background, especially at Autotrader. That digital and that tech understanding is so important because all our products are that way. You'll be dealing with people who are creating the products, building them, designing them, and then also ultimately supporting our customers in using them. So just some of the examples there, we regularly have graduate roles for software developers, testers, site reliability, lots of analyst roles, either on the business side or around data and digital. And then moving over into the design side around user experience, design, marketing, and then within our commercial fields. The main thing that we look for is just opportunities within the business, but as long as there is support and growth within those roles, because we want people to be supported and also grow incredible careers with us and stay with us for as long as they want to. So people always want to know about the money, so I thought I'm just going to tell you about the money. So as you can see earlier on, we've got a few different opportunities to join us, from apprentice, from leaving school right the way through to changing your career at any point. So typically people within our early careers space, and I've used the example of software developer, typically start between anything between 19.5 and 35. That depends on their entry route, experience, skills that they're coming through, and they're basically working towards the next level of role, which has a salary range between 35 and 60. And then as you progress, senior roles, 50 to 70 and so on, and there's roles beyond that, so principal, tech and so on. You might be thinking, Sarah, this is one of your moments where you've typed wrong, because between 60 and 50 doesn't add up. We have a little bit of a crossover, so sometimes there's a bit of a range there. And then as you can see, you get lots of lovely benefits as well as working on exciting tech. We've got nice holiday allowance, volunteering, and loads of investment in you, when it's not a one-size-fits-all program. I'm a qualified coach, as are many of my colleagues, and we support you through your career as well and make sure you're getting the right things that are right for you. We also have a network that supports people in their early career, so people can share learnings and experiences and just support each other along the way. Role support, as I mentioned, so you get a buddy that supports you through. So for example, you're going into a coding role, you will have someone pairing with you and supporting you through that journey. We do loads of practical projects, so sometimes you don't get to get the experience you need straight away because of the work that's in your team, so we'll take you out on a project and get you that way. Lots of personal development workshops and loads of individual career catch-ups, as I said. I have got another little cheeky video because I'm really aware that I can just go on a little bit and this keeps me on track. So hopefully this will work. Fingers crossed. And then I'm done.
I didn't realise this was being recorded. Yep, so I wanted to go into the graduate scheme.
I started my apprenticeship at Autotrader
because I thought it would be a nice way to enter a company, to learn a lot about it rather than going straight into a role.
because I finished my degree at university and I realised I wanted to go into finance and I needed to do some extra studying.
And the degree apprenticeship allowed me to have both of those things, where I can study at university, gain a degree, whilst also earning money, whilst also gaining actual workplace experience.
So I always kind of knew that I wanted to go for maybe like a FTSE 100 company or something like that. I always saw Autotrader came up as really good company culture and stuff like that.
We're passionate about our early careers, developing exceptional talent and investing in our community. We recognise the curiosity, fresh approach and love of learning our early careers people bring, and we're committed to welcoming diverse talent into Autotrader.
Another thing that made Autotrader stand out for me was the culture and the people.
In reality, it's actually something I enjoy doing.
But when you start on a grad scheme, you could just ask anyone the most stupid questions and they're like, oh, it's a grad, isn't it?
And it's not seen as a job, and it's more of a way of life.
We provide many early careers opportunities, including apprenticeship programmes from level 3 to 7, graduate schemes, internships, and support and development programmes for those that are returning or retraining.
I think generally speaking, like, you're respected from point blank, and it met everyone that this was kind of the place for me.
I'd be like in a meeting with like an MD from early doors, and it's, you don't get that in a lot of other companies.
Our graduate programme recruitment begins in the autumn and our degree apprenticeships during spring. Other early careers opportunities are available throughout the year, and all our vacancies are advertised on the careers site.
Just go for it.
I think just like jump into it, take in as much information as possible.
You can meet other people that are in the same kind of stage of life as you.
I studied marketing, but my manager had plans of being a bit more of a data analyst, and I've never really done anything like that. So it was a lot of questions, but everybody from all areas of the business were there to support.
There's loads of networks and guilds, and especially there's some early careers ones and apprentice ones, and we do quite a lot of different sessions to develop in your personal areas as well as in work.
I've been assigned a mentor and a manager, and they give me plenty of time to work on my uni work. If it's getting too much, all I have to do is just tell them, and I feel completely comfortable to do so.
We really do care about building a diverse and inclusive workplace. which is why we've removed some of the traditional entry requirements for our roles and made our application experience more accessible.
It's more importantly about you finding the right place that fits for you.
I think obviously the way the graduate program is built is so that you have like such a well-rounded view of like the industry, the company, and like your specific role.
If you are willing to learn and put as much effort in as you possibly can, that's all they're really after, and that's all they ever ask for.
I think that is it on that one. Okay, so just to finish off, because I'm really conscious that those videos were longer than I thought, the key things that we look for just to bring things together are all around our values and the things that are important to us. So these are the things that we assess for within the selection process. So just wanted to share those, just some things to have a think about. Another person mentioned about research. That's really important. Get on Glassdoor, get on LinkedIn, have a play, make sure companies are the right company for you. Our applications, as mentioned in the video, for our graduate roles open in September. We have filled our roles for this year or in the final stages of it, but the new graduate roles open from September. And as Nisha very kindly said on the video, we do have other roles that pop up throughout the year, so do keep a look on our website. On there as well, we have loads of videos. Love a video, as you can tell, but there's some on there about how to apply, and it really goes through the process, and there's loads of top tips around, you know, like practice sites and how to put your applications together and things like that, and more videos, because who doesn't need more? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little Auto Trader snapshot, and yeah, look forward to any questions.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was really great. And yeah, we all love a video at Manchester. So I think that's sort of the end of the employer presentations, but we have got plenty of time for questions. And I guess I just wanted to kick off with one, if that's okay. This is a question for everyone, really, all of our employers. You all alluded to having that something extra, you know, so everyone typically from Manchester will have a degree. What is it that really makes a student stand out? What other kind of activities perhaps on their CV really stand out to you as recruiters or people looking at CVs? Is it something within their hobbies, their interests? Is it additional courses that they've done? So yeah, I'd really like some insight into that in terms of when you're looking at a CV, what really stands out beyond the degree? Christina, could maybe throw that one at you first?
Yeah, of course. Well, to be honest, nothing specific. I think at the end of the day, it's just about showing passion for whatever you're passionate about. So something I find really interesting is that at IBM, we have a lot of focus on like health and healthcare opportunities. And for example, I met a lot of people who study biology and are interested in that in those industries. So bringing that to the interview and letting them know, yeah, this is what I'm interested in, but I'm also interested in technology, and just merging those two together and being able to transmit that in an interview, I feel is really important.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I'll let you, if that's okay, I'll just let you answer for Hannah as well on that one. Dan, what about you for QRT?
Honestly, it tends to be the things that aren't in the job description. So it'll be things like hobbies and accomplishments. So when I've done interview placements for internships, I've absolutely loved it when someone has a passion project that they can describe, even if it seems sort of barely related. What that really does is it just shows us that somebody has the drive to sort of see something through, shows kind of that they have interests that fall outside of just, you know, the paycheck as well and the kind of work. And realistically, the more that your job is fun, the more likely you are to succeed. So that's a huge flag for us.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. And then Sarah, what about Auto Trader?
So lots of similar things. A little secret to let you in on, we don't actually look at your CV until you're further down the process. So we just look at your application answers, but there is lots of opportunity to bring through and surface all that things. But I think, Penny, you mentioned something before around like transferable experience and things you can bring through. So, you know, even celebrate and look at the things that you've done right the way through. So if you've had a little part-time job at Tesco, or if you've worked on a project, volunteered at university, those things, there's loads of things that you can build experience from. So, you know, don't ever discount them. talk about them, even if they're not, you know, necessarily an exact match, they still build your skills and experience. And as Dan said, just that passion. So if you have done something on your own, if you've worked on a little project at home, or you've been reading something, researching something, you'll share that with us. Because as I mentioned, you might not have picked a degree that directly links to the role you're applying for. You might have found an interest in that role or that career whilst you've been at university. And so tell us about that. Tell us how you found that opportunity, what's inspired you, and what you've done to take you on that journey.
Great, thank you so much. So we've got some questions now from students. So Louise asked, how flexible are the start dates for the different types of roles? So I know IBM, you were saying you've got a whole range of placements, internships, as well as the grad role. So what is there any flexibility around start dates, or are they very much set?
No, they're quite flexible. As Hannah mentioned earlier this morning, we have between June and even November, sometimes we have cohorts coming in. So during your application process, just let them know I would like to start earlier or later, and they'll most likely accommodate.
Great. And what's the situation at QRT, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, again, so internships tend to be based around the university's timeframe. So it may be part of course, you know, like a middle of term internship. The ones that aren't based around a degree timeframe, we're very flexible with. So we don't have a time box based on graduate hires. So if somebody applies for a graduate position and there's been a gap, that doesn't really stand out as a problem or anything.
Yeah, great, thank you. And Sarah, also trader, I know you mentioned the 2023 applications opening in September, but beyond that, are there any flexibility for internships, placements?
So for the graduate roles, typically they do start in the autumn. I don't think we've got a date confirmed yet, but it's typically around the October time, so we can capture master's students as well. With regards to interns, we usually offer the 3-month placements, so they're usually over the summer, but we can be flexible around that. And apprenticeships, because again, some people go down a different path and want a qualification around that. So we do have students who join us on apprenticeship that have graduated. We have opportunities throughout the year on those. For us, it really just depends on the volume. Some years we've had 2 intakes and we've done a summer and an autumn. Some years we've just done the autumn intake.
Yeah, great, lovely, thank you very much. I'm going to field this one to Hannah, if that's okay. So in the sort of day-to-day roles, how much teamwork's involved as a software engineer? Do you kind of get involved in a lot of teamwork, or is it very much working on your own?
Yeah, so I think it's a bit of a mixture of both, really. It's majority teamwork. So we get given a project and we kind of break it down and plan it between us through planning meetings, deciding which skills are more suited to which members of the team. We do paired programming sometimes, so programming with another person tends to work quite well because the other person can spot your mistakes, things like that. We have a lot of planning meetings together to kind of throw ideas out there, and yeah, it's quite easy to it's a lot easier to solve problems when you're talking them through. So we tend to have a lot of meetings where we plan using those kinds of methods. But yeah, I'd say it's a good mix. We work as a team, and then occasionally, well, most days as well, we have the individual thinking time. As Dan was saying earlier, it's a good balance of both that we try and do.
Great, thank you. Dan, at your organisation, do people have much flexibility in what they do, or choosing the kind of projects they want to focus on?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the role. So some of the roles are very focused on a specific type of research or a specific type of trading. My own role is much more of a generalist role. So I work on generally have responsibility for just improving the technology that we use, right? So computers, operating systems is sort of where I fall. But it is quite possible for people in Cube to make changes as well. So I was kind of elaborating on this in the chat a bit. People often don't stay in the role they start with. It just depends on kind of passion and contributions, really. So, I didn't really ever, prior to joining QRT, I never really did too much outreach work. And it's been sort of an interesting thing for me to learn that it's quite fun.
Yeah, Fantastic. And there's a question here, Sarah, about kind of diversity and sort of international talent, really. Have things been affected at Auto Trader in terms of recruiting international talent, or do you feel that's not been affected, particularly with Brexit?
For us, and we are a sponsorship holder, so we work very much with being able to support people across all levels of roles within the business. Has it been affected? I haven't got the data in front of me to be able to say for definite whether or not we were attracting as many international candidates as what we used to. It definitely feels like we're still welcoming international people into the business. We have an AT languages network, which is quite new, and actually 2 of our current graduates have set it up, and that has just been so popular, just people sharing like different words and supporting people with different things. So I can't say for sure, but we definitely have welcomed some fabulous people internationally over the last year, and we are a sponsorship offering company. So if there are any international students on the call and are interested for next year, then we'd love to see your application.
Amazing, thanks, and thanks for that offer. Dan, this is one for you from one of our PhD students. So I've got someone studying a STEM PhD in material science, but is interested in a career in tech. Do your company hire people like that with kind of PhDs? Do. Yeah.
So interestingly, the maths and the coding are similar problems. I mean, if you've done the maths that are required to do a PhD in material science, I don't think coding would present too much of a problem. Most of us code, but it doesn't necessarily mean assembler or C++ or FPGA coding. I personally use mostly Python, which is something that you can quite easily pick up. It's almost a straight language problem. And funny enough, to be honest, the logic that's used in kind of these kind of hard sciences and sort of isolating out causes, I mean, just doing sort of basic laboratory work and understanding how to return things to a clean condition, to do a test, to get results and to analyze data. That's what we do more on a daily basis than necessarily writing new algorithms continuously. As an example, like from my own world, when I talked earlier about overclocking a server to try to get faster performance. So I'll make a change to it. I'll fire the thing up. I'll run a test, which will give me some numbers on the back end. And most of these things I've harvested from elsewhere, like open source or something. But it's the analytics and it's kind of that logic and the problem solving that you apply to it that's much more the skill set.
Right, thank you. And Dan, I can see you've answered quite a few questions there in the chat, so I'm not going to repeat those, but there is one that I think that was probably quite useful for everyone, is about flexibility within your role. And I think some of you have already alluded to that, about finding the right fit in the company. So Sarah, if someone starts on a particular pathway at Auto Trader, what's the flexibility around that to change? If they feel like it's not really the right pathway for them, can they have discussions with their manager, for example, and change the kind of area of expertise or their role?
So yeah, it does happen. One of the things we look to do in the first instance is to support that person to really truly understand their strengths and really understand about the things that give them energy and they're enjoying, because sometimes it just going through that process can open up all different options, and actually it is within the role that they've started in, but it's like a slightly different angle to it, not necessarily moving into a completely different department. But it's really important we found that we work with that, because they could make a move without all the information and then they could be in a similar position again. So if that does happen, we do a lot of career coaching and just unpicking and working through some of the things so for them to really be able to identify the strengths, and then we can support them with how they'd go about moving into that role. So it might be that we get them involved in a project so they can test it first and build some experience. It might be that we encourage them to get involved in one of our networks where there may be some things where they can try that. Because the last thing we'd want to do is just move someone over in a really rash decision, and then 6 months down the line, it's like, actually, this isn't for me either. So yeah, talent's so important to us at Auto Trader. We'd hate to lose anyone. So we just work with people to make sure we can really unpick and find the right route.
Great, thank you. And Christina, same at IBM or something similar?
Yeah, I think Hannah's and I's answers differ a bit, especially because I'm in our consulting department, and because it's all project based. You can literally do anything and switch from being a business consultant in project manager roles, business analyst roles, to being a technical consultant as a data engineer, even as designer sometimes. And we also have quite a strong learning portal where we share across IBM. So for example, I'm actually interested in moving into more consumer products, and there's a really good pathway which I'm trying to do at the same time as I work, and just trying to gain experience through learning that I can then show in project interviews in order to show like, I'm interested in learning more about this. Is this okay? So yeah, of course. Hannah, is that any different for technology?
Yes, it's a little bit different for us. We don't have the kind of the different projects that we move between. I've been on the same project ever since I actually joined. There's flexibility to move within the team. Sorry, my AirPods just ran out. So there's flexibility to move within teams within my department. And also there's plenty of opportunity to talk to people outside of the department as well. We can talk to anybody we like in any team over Slack or something, and kind of find out about different roles that are available within IBM. And we can chat to everybody and find a pathway that you can use to move to different roles.
Great.
It's a little bit different from the
That's great. Thanks, Hannah. That's amazing. And Dan, flexibility, options to change role?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big part of kind of how smaller companies work as well. It tends to be that our hires are based on personalities and skill sets as opposed to jobs. So we tend to hire a person rather than for a role, if that makes sense. Oftentimes when we have a listing and we don't have a suitable role for someone, we might think that that person does something that we don't have and that we really want them to join us. I'm an example of that myself. I kind of came in with a mandate to do much more hard tech, and I've been doing a lot more kind of design work and kind of engineering and research stuff now.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. That's really reassuring to hear that all of the companies are flexible and wanting to kind of retain their staff and develop them. So that's really, really encouraging to hear. And we're going to start wrapping things up now, if that's okay. I'm just going to share that registration link again. So if you didn't get a chance to do that earlier, please do that now. And I say any slides that have been shared will be sent to you following the presentation today. And then the other thing I just wanted to do really was kind of get a sense of how helpful you found today. We've had some really great input from our employers, for which we're very grateful. So thanks to Dan, Sarah, Christina and Hannah. Really insightful information, giving us lots of information about the companies that they're based in, and also some tips as well around kind of recruitment and how to stand out. So really appreciate that input. Likewise, if you want to reach out to them on LinkedIn, all these people are on LinkedIn, grow your network, something we're always saying at Manchester. Please use LinkedIn, build up that network, because opportunities can come through those. And I know Christina was saying earlier in our other presentation that both her and Hannah post when things become available, opportunities become available. They share that information on LinkedIn. So please reach out to our employers today and connect with them on LinkedIn. If you feel like you need a follow-up kind of chat or appointment, I am available, as are my colleagues in the Career Service team. So please use Career Connect to book a follow-up appointment if you think that would be helpful. So that's the end of our session today. Thank you so much again for participating, for your questions. Thanks again to our employers for some really great input. And I just hope you have an enjoyable afternoon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Sarah.
No problem. I'll put my screen back on now. I was like,
wow, Louis asked a lot of questions there. I was trying to give other people the opportunity to ask questions, so I sort of ping-ponged back and forward a bit there. But
I looked at his list and was like, it. He's like, sorry for the question spam. I was like,
Spam.
that's fine. If you've got like 6 questions, probably some of them are other people's questions, aren't they?
Yeah, that Dan was pretty good, I think, at responding as well in writing,
Yeah.
so that took some of the pressure off. But
And he's
yeah,
put
so
loads of answers in the chat too, Dan, as well, to people's
Yeah.
questions. So
yeah, I
hopefully-
saw that's really helpful, because there's nothing worse is then having questions unanswered. I always feel guilty if I don't get around to answering them. But anyway, we've done well, kept to time, which is brilliant. I had 26 in there minus us 6, so that's 20.
Yeah.
20 attended. So I'll report that back to Jenny for her stats. She's asked me to update. I've just realised I'm still recording. Let me just